Hello, everyone. We're delighted to have you join us for today's timely session of ACB Connects. I'm Susan Sands, past president of ACB, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's session, Live Concerts During COVID, Thinking Outside the Stage. We've all been wondering what's happening in other community bands, especially as COVID conditions improve and we begin to make plans for the summer season. Today's session will give us an idea of what several of our ACB bands have been doing and what they're planning. Today, we welcome ACB Band Directors Dr. Stephen Grugin, Director of the Marquette City Band in Marquette, Michigan, Annette Klein, Director of the North Oakland Concert Band from Lake Orion, Michigan, and Dr. Eileen Young, the Director of the Salem Band from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We are especially pleased to bring you today's program because of the desire we heard from so many of you through your feedback for just this kind of programming. The survey that was taken after the general membership meeting provided us with insight into your interests, as well as into what some of our ACB bands have been doing. Feedback we received included how bands used Zoom during the pandemic. 70% of 30 responses indicated using Zoom with their band. Of those 17 respondents who used Zoom, 41% met weekly, 35% met monthly, and 24% met sporadically. Concerning concerts and performances, out of 29 responses received, 86% of bands have not played outdoor concerts during the pandemic, and only 14% have played any outdoor concerts. 62% of those responding have not produced a virtual recording or performance, while 38% have done at least one. And only 21% of these bands have live streamed a performance, while 79% have not. Other feedback from the survey indicated that nearly all of the 29 respondents have a Facebook page, and that there's a strong interest in finding protocols for resuming rehearsals and performances. In response to this desire, you will find a button on the ACB website homepage, Summary of COVID-19 Mitigation Guidelines, which links to recently updated resources to assist in establishing these protocols. You'll also hear more ideas shared in today's session, and we welcome your comments on this topic in the chat. When asked about additional topics for future ACB Connect sessions, several survey respondents indicated an interest in exploring the business side of community bands, the financial concerns, including issues such as grants and fundraising. There was also an interest expressed in master classes. Thank you for continuing to provide your feedback so that the ACB Connects team can continue to meet your needs. ACB Connects is sponsored by the Association of Concert Bands, an international nonprofit organization whose mission is to foster excellence in concert band music through performance, education, and advocacy. Today's session is presented as a service to our members and as an outreach to the music community. We have just a few housekeeping items before we begin today's discussion. ACB Connects is being recorded. Today's session will be archived along with other previously recorded sessions on the ACB Connects page on the ACB website. Concerning the information shared today, I would like to caution that the views, information, or opinions expressed in this session are solely those of the individuals involved. As always, consider the current conditions, scientific recommendations, and government regulations in your state and local area to determine what is right for you and your band. Finally, if you have any questions or comments for our guests, please submit these in the chat to everyone, and as many as time allows will be addressed. Our moderator today is Tom Seaton. Tom is a member of the ACB Board of Directors and the music director for the Rancho Cordova River City Concert Band. Now, I turn the program over to our moderator, Tom Seaton, as we explore the topic, Live Concerts During COVID, Thinking Outside the Stage.
Welcome, everyone. It's good to have you here with us this afternoon. I'm excited about this session because I'm sure there will be information that will be useful to other bands, and that we get to hear from 3 of our member bands that have been doing things during the pandemic. As Susan said, that they've been thinking outside the stage for keeping their bands involved. So first up is Dr. Eileen Young. Eileen is an instructor of clarinet, saxophone, and woodwind ensembles at Wake Forest University. She was named music director of the Salem Band from North Carolina in May of 2011. Established in 1771, the Salem Band is one of the oldest community bands in the nation. The Salem Band successfully implemented outdoor rehearsals from September through November of 2020, presented 2 small ensemble virtual concerts and 1 band outdoor holiday concert in 2020. Stayed in touch with fans and followers with a popular member series via Facebook, and will resume outdoor rehearsals March 16th with outdoor concert plans to begin July 4th. So here is Eileen to share what the Salem Band has been doing.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be here representing Salem Band from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I am the conductor and music director of Salem Band. That's our community band. And within our organization is also the Salem Swing Band. And I just wanted to go over a few things. Like Tom said, Salem Band has enjoyed outdoor rehearsals. We had no in-person meetings of band personnel from March through August of 2020, and again January and February of 2021. But we began outdoor rehearsals in mid-September of 2020, which in North Carolina is very possible. And it was really a lovely experience through, we rehearsed on Tuesday nights outdoors until the time changed in November and we moved to Saturday mornings. And that culminated in an outdoor concert on December 5th. Also, I understand not possible everywhere, but it was lovely here to play a concert on a Saturday afternoon. And that was our Christmas Carols concert outdoors. And 2 of our small ensembles, the Salem Band Tuba Quartet and the Salem Saxophone Quartet, presented 2 live stream concerts in October, one in October and one in December. I created a short Christmas video online for our fans, and like Tom said, created the Salem Band Members Series, which started in May 2020 and is still continuing as we have 72 members in Salem Band. And I also made sure to communicate weekly with band members via email and keep up regular communications with donors and fans and audience. And we resumed our spring outdoor rehearsals on April 6th. So what are some of the considerations for rehearsing outdoors if you don't already do so? First of all, our board very carefully planned out the PPE we would be requiring for folks to participate in outdoor rehearsals. And that included a waiver form that we asked everybody to sign and submit. And regardless of the legality of the form, we went ahead with it and are continuing to ask for that because it just gives the impression of that the board of Salem Band is taking our protocol seriously. It's also another way for us to lay out our expectations in writing. Folks were required even at outdoor rehearsals to wear a mask unless they were seated and playing. So anytime they're entering the band area or walking around, they had to be masked. Myself as the conductor and all of our percussionists wear masks the entire time. Our properties manager had hand sanitizer and Clorox wipes out for anybody who wanted to sanitize any of their equipment. We required, and this was probably the toughest one to enforce, but we asked for folks to stay 6 feet apart from one another before, after rehearsal, and during break. And of course, after not having seen each other for 6 months in September, our band members were, of course, ecstatic to see one another and to socialize. So that may be the only reason that was the toughest one to enforce. And our properties manager right now, as regulations relax, he is setting us up 6 to 8 feet apart. In the fall, when we had far fewer participants in outdoor rehearsals, band members sat 8 to 10 feet apart. And you can see in the first photo here what it looked like to have our band members at a distance. This was from the fall, so we had approximately between 31, 35, no more than 35 at one time. And so I'm just going to go one photo at a time, and that one is coming up next. So the two, where you see the two chairs together, that's a married couple who both play in our saxophone section. Everyone else is at a distance. So if you're looking for a venue, I would say a flat surface like this parking lot area, and this is part of the Salem College Fine Arts Center parking area. And we had no problem setting up there. It's a little rough for percussion, so we did without some of that, but parking lot is a good place, a good level place. A lawn area. Some of our choirs here in Winston-Salem were rehearsing in parking garages in the fall, just be able to get together. Yes, this is part of the Fine Arts Center parking lot. And I would suggest contact local colleges, universities, churches, or your city parks and rec department, and look for a space that has a level lawn or a large level parking lot that you can set up in. If you need a power source, that's another consideration, but I think later on we'll be hearing about options for microphone and amplification that don't require a power source. But if you do see musicians at a distance, the conductor definitely needs to have a microphone to communicate with. We solicited a donation of lawn signs from a local graphics company. And in the next photo, this is an aerial shot of our Carols concert on December 5th. So what we asked folks to do is come in their cars, sit in their cars and enjoy the concert. It was a perfect temperature for that. Some folks set up chairs, which you can't even see them on the far left. But if you look at the strip of lawn between the band and the first row of cars, you can see that it's dotted with those lawn signs. And the lawn signs just ask folks to stay out of the band area. And they have icons that show, please wear a mask, stay at a distance, and that kind of thing. And other equipment you might need, Salem Band is fortunate to have a trailer with our chairs and other equipment in it that just stays parked in this area. Our properties manager uses a pickup truck to transport percussion equipment, and our rehearsal hall is really right over the hill here, so we're very close to be able to do that. But I will say that we made minimal use of percussion for outdoor rehearsals. Salem Band finally acquired 4 timpani, and rather than risk anything with those in an uneven gravel parking lot, we decided to I just went through scores and kind of, used alternate percussion in place of timpani, especially since we're doing outdoor concerts, and that wasn't difficult to do. But another reason, besides that equipment, lighting is an issue, but battery operated stand lights, which most of our band members have, are very efficient these days. And we were lucky to have a large standing street light kind of right in our parking area. So especially for in the fall, we utilize those things. Spring rehearsals now, lighting is pretty good here until about 8:15 p.m. So I did adjust start and stop times for rehearsals depending on, mostly monthly, depending on how the sunlight shifted. So sun placement and sunset times are something to investigate to determine how you might need to alter your rehearsal times. But another reason to rehearse outdoors, as you can see, is just pure gratification. We enjoyed some wonderful sunsets, especially at those fall rehearsals. And both me and our band members have kind of grown fond of rehearsing outdoors and have definitely made the best of it. Some folks had asked questions about percussion instruments. This is a view of rehearsal from our percussion section, and this is one of our spring rehearsals, where you can see we have, still at a distance, but we do have almost double the number of band members willing to participate. And when I asked folks about rehearsing last fall, a lot of people were honest with me and said, you know, I'm happy to come back once there's a vaccine available, but until then I won't participate. Well, we were lucky to have, with our 35 or so members, a pretty good balance instrumentation wise last fall. But here in the spring, we have almost 60 folks participating. So as far as percussion, we're lucky to have access to ours, but I realize not everybody does. So some ideas for that. Of course, you've probably thought of, you know, trying to borrow percussion equipment from local public schools or colleges. A friend of mine who deals in used percussion equipment around here has told me that marching bands and drum corps only use their percussion equipment for a year, and then they offer it for sale as used equipment. So that's something else to check out if you know of any organizations like that in your area. And another place to check is just, you know, local pawn shops. Can you get what you need pretty cheaply there? I think a community band, especially for outdoor rehearsals and concerts, can really make pretty good use of, you know, if you get a snare drum, a bass drum, and a set of bells, you can do a lot with those. And another thing that I've utilized is, if you're on Facebook, is just put out an all call, not just on your band page, but I would on my personal Facebook page, and ask, you know, your contacts if they have any ideas about or any percussion equipment that they'd be willing to loan you for the duration of your outdoor experiences. And then if you're thinking about, if you have not played outdoor concerts, but you're thinking about doing so, as far as venues, same kind of thing. Colleges and public schools are out for the summer. So those kind of places are, along with churches, are going to have large parking lots, level parking lots, and large lawn areas. So I would say contacting public schools, colleges, and churches is the way to go to try to. And then, if you know, you might be able to cut a deal with them to have a performance or play for a special event they might be having in exchange for use of their space. And you can see on the next photo here, this is Salem Square in Old Salem, in Winston-Salem. And I don't know if you can envision, most of the time the band plays under that large grove of trees on the right. The entire rest of this fenced-in area is open for the public to bring a lawn chair, a blanket, and come and enjoy the concert. So this is a somewhat public space that is accommodating for a 70-piece band and over 500 in the audience. We've had that many and more before, just in this particular park area. High schools around here are giving end-of-year concerts outdoors. So it's, you know, they definitely have the space, and even a football field or a soccer field is a generous space to think about putting on a concert. And you might think about accessible private venues. We have a large children's home here, right in the middle of the city in Winston-Salem. Again, expansive lawn area, and probably an organization that would love to collaborate or partner with a band to give a concert on their property. In the next photo, you can see an example of this is Salem Square. We are under the grove of trees with some standing lighting for the band, and the audience sit all around us, even behind the band. We don't use a sound shell, so the sound and the concert music is accessible to anybody in the area. So again, consider sun placement and sunset times when thinking about an outdoor performance, and what time you might be able to start that, and what is the lighting light for not just the band, but for the audience as well. A question about membership engagement. And I will say I did make an effort to weekly stay in touch with my band members. Like I said, we did not see each other for a full 6 months at the beginning of the pandemic. But I did receive positive feedback about my ability to keep the band together, even though we weren't actually physically together. And part of the way I did that was just Salem Band rehearses on Tuesday nights, and I would just email the band membership every Tuesday with any news I had or suggestions or you know, if anybody was experiencing a death in the family or anything like that. Just all kinds of communications really meant a lot to folks to stay in touch with each other. I decided not to pursue any kind of virtual videos or even partial indoor rehearsals. I felt I just kind of gauged what I felt our membership was willing to do, and indoor rehearsals was not one of them. And I sing in a church choir here, and I watched our church music director try to put together videos, and some people became frustrated and wouldn't do it. Other people refused to even try. And I just didn't want, there were so many frustrations for all of us in 2020. I didn't feel like I wanted to add another one to the band. So we chose to forego those two things. And in hindsight, the outdoor rehearsal and concert part of it has really worked well for us. And then Tom mentioned the Salem Band member series on Facebook. I featured started that in May of 2020 and featured a different Salem Band musician each week. And while it doesn't seem like such a big deal, it really got an excellent response among the band members and our fans and audience. So what I would do is post a paragraph and some photos of a particular band member each week. And then if I was friends with, I am friends on Facebook with most of our band members. If I was friends with them, I would share it also on my personal Facebook page and tag that musician. That way they're the musicians, you know, former students, faraway friends and family, friends from their youth or college, peers, they could all see that. And it was great because like most bands, we have a fair number of retired band directors, and their former students would see the story of their musical journey and talk about, you know, how influential that particular band director was for them. And our members would find out about each other. You know, they may not know in such a big band, even know everybody in there or folks from other sections. And they'd find out that maybe they went to the same college or they grew up in the same town or a similar area, had the same high school band director at different times. And it really was, it was a good way to keep the band together and help everyone get to know one another, even though we weren't socializing. And I also kept in touch with our fans, friends, donors, just updating them on our plans and our revisions and our protocols, and got a lot of positive feedback about how much they appreciated knowing what we were doing and how we were dealing with the pandemic. And had some questions too about how did Salem Band handle financial decisions and donors and sponsors. And we were lucky to have acquired 3 new sponsors during 2020. Our board chair successfully applied twice for PPP funds for the band from the federal government. Like I said, we got that donation of lawn signs from a graphics business. And don't be afraid to communicate your needs with local businesses. I found in Winston-Salem that businesses that did okay during the pandemic were actually quite willing to help out with the arts because they understood how much we were struggling and that there wasn't much we could do about it, especially early on. So don't be afraid to go local with your donation requests. And Facebook, I was glad to hear from that survey that most bands have a Facebook page. It's even with all its faults, it's a free platform. So I would say use Facebook as much as you can. Keep reaching out to your donors, even just via email. I email donors pretty regularly and our email contacts, and occasionally submitted a video. just to stay in touch with them. Don't be afraid to ask for support. I realized early on that as arts organizations asking for help wasn't really the right word for us to use. Things were so bad during this pandemic at the beginning of it that, you know, the help that the sick and families of the dying needed, and the help that medical professionals needed, that's legitimate help. We need support. And I think your local businesses and donors are ready to help with that kind of support. And those are the ways that Salem Band actually stayed in pretty good financial shape for 2020. And not to beat a dead horse, but grants right now, especially from local resources, are more accessible, easier to apply for, and there are more of them. So this is the time, if you've been skittish about grants, this may be the time to start investigating those, especially in the local and state level. If you've never offered outdoor concerts before, and you plan to, ask for donations at the concerts. That's been really successful for us, and folks are far more willing to donate to free concerts than they are to pay for tickets, is what I found. Make sure you have a donate option on your Facebook page, and we have one on every page of our website. And for any other kind of, you know, special skills or services you might need, don't be afraid to tap into the band membership. Ask band members to get their spouses, children, grandchildren to help with, you know, if you want to put on videos, you need percussion equipment, you need ushers for concerts, try to get help from the band membership. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that. I'm not particularly endorsing anything except that we would not have been able to play our Christmas Carols concert in December outdoors without the use of the Moravian Band chorale books. And if you don't know about them, especially for bands who might have a more flex setup, I think this is a really good resource, musical resource. There's 2 different chorale books, and what they are is simply 4-part hymns arranged for traditional band instrumentation. And the part books are available for all the bands in various keys and voice parts in your band. And if it's okay, I'll put the link to those in the chat. But they came in real handy for us. The part books are sized like stand music, so they can be used outdoors with lyres. But I'll put that link if you'd like to investigate that in the chat. And one final thing, it may or may not be legal it hasn't been determined yet, to ask about band members' inoculation status. But I've kind of been keeping up with this kind of thing. And from what I see from state and local arts organizations, I think arts organizations are going to figure out how to do that. And our governor this week has said that arts businesses and nonprofits may require employees and volunteers to have proof of vaccination status. So at this point, I don't think it's completely illegal. But honestly, if you're going to go the route of outdoor rehearsals and outdoor concerts, and you have your PPE consistently in place, it really shouldn't matter if everybody is vaccinated or not for outdoors. Check your local and state government sources, as well as get on email lists for state and local arts councils and representative organizations. In North Carolina, it's called Arts NC. That's where I get a lot of valuable information about what the governor and our health director have to say and what our regulations are. So that's what's been going on in Salem Band during the pandemic. I don't know if there are any questions.
Yeah, Eileen, there were a few questions that came up. One was regarding that last picture that you showed. Was that a concert that was done in 2021, or was that pre-pandemic?
We have not done any 2021 concerts. We plan to start outdoors in Salem Square on July 4th. That was December 5th, 2020.
Okay. And let's see. Oh, did you have a link, or do you know of any links that that apply to apply for like federal funds for the PPE?
Yeah, I would think if you just Google PPE, you'll find the application process. For us, of course, our accounts are linked to a local bank, and our board chair had to work with the bank, one of the bank officials, to get you do have to work with a local bank to get your application through to the federal government. So it's PPP for the loans. PPE is your protocols. The loan is PPP. And Tom is frozen on my screen. Yes, our PPP loans were mostly for paid staff, and the way it works is you apply for the loan. I think most organizations, the loan was approved, and then you ask the government to forgive the loan and consider it a grant. And we did both those steps successfully both times.
Hi, Eileen. This is Nancy Michalak. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. I believe Tom Seaton got bumped off Zoom. So I think what we'd like to do is go to our next presenter. And Eileen, if you could stand by, we'll probably have more questions for you later. But I would.
I'm back. Hi.
You're back. Okay.
Of course, I don't
yeah.
have any of the chat now that was there before, but I do remember that one of the chat questions was if you had restroom facilities where you were rehearsing in the parking lot. Did you have restroom facilities for there?
We did not, but in the fall, as part of our protocols, we only rehearsed for an hour, and we took a short break in between. That was the recommendation at the time. So now we're rehearsing an hour and a half with a short break. But folks understand that, restroom facilities are not necessarily available.
Right. Okay. Well, I thank you so much, Eileen, for sharing all of your comments and stuff. And I think we'll move on. That is the first time that has ever happened to me. Oh, wow. Even teaching. Okay. So next up is Dr. Stephen Grugin. Stephen has served as the conductor and artistic director of the Marquette City Band in Michigan since 2012. He is also in his 20th year of director of bands and professor of low brass at Northern Michigan University. So it seems like we all have our day jobs, right? And we get to do community band for fun. He is also in his 20th year, already did that. In the latter half of the 1800s, immigrant bands were a popular form of cultural entertainment throughout the Upper Peninsula. Formed within this milieu, the Marquette City Band has been preserving that tradition since 1887. I thought that was very interesting and really wanted to share that. The band has been performing outside in various locations for socially distanced audiences and streamed live on its Facebook page at the Band Shell in the city's beautiful, picturesque Isle Park in the shore of Lake Superior. So here is Stephen to share what they've been doing.
Thank you very much, Tom. And sometimes when you say Marquette, Michigan, people don't know what you're talking about. And I can describe this. If you're familiar with people telling you where they live in Michigan by pointing to their hands, but we have to add this part and then go 3 more hours, and we're actually up on Lake Superior. So we're real happy with our location, and we're able to, in the summertime, have just glorious weather. And we were able to do several concerts last summer that I'm going to tell you about. And a lot of what we were able to do pretty much mirrors what Eileen has just described with the Salem Band, with just a few differences that we'll talk about. But it does come down in a great extent to location, location, location. maybe we weren't as generous as Eileen and with her band. We didn't give the band breaks so that they go to the bathroom or anything. We'd just let them do that on their own. That way they don't congregate. And like Tom said, our band's existence started in 1887. We've actually been funded by the city of Marquette since 1930. And in fact, our mailing address is Marquette City Hall. We also receive funding from the Michigan Council of Art and Cultural Affairs, and through them, the National Endowment of the Arts as well. Our band is comprised of community musicians of all ages, like most bands, and including some university students and a few talented high school students too. Our performing season is actually during the summer months when we present 6 concerts. And in the last few years, we've also started to give a winter and a spring concert. And it's just kind of interesting to me that we have some snowbirds up here that live where we are, where we get a lot of snow, and they like to live in Florida during the winter months, and they play in community bands down there. And then they come back and join our band again in the summer. So I guess those guys just don't want to have a break. Regarding last summer, a lot of things worked out in our favor that enabled us to present all of our live concerts. We do live in a fairly isolated area, and we didn't have very many COVID cases in the community until the fall of 2020. We were able to have all of our rehearsals and concerts outdoors. And since we have pretty strong ties to our city government, we had access to city facilities that I'm going to show you. We do own our own percussion equipment that's stored in an accessible place for us, so that wasn't a problem. We were fortunate enough to have enough funding to pay for extra things like signage and audio reinforcement and live streaming, people to do that. We do receive funding from patrons, and this summer we're also seeking support from local businesses, like Eileen mentioned, to support our increased costs for technical services. We have 2 retired physicians and an environmental scientist on our band board that advised us and helped manage our COVID procedures. So I do rely on what the science tells us and what the regulations are in the state and the city, which sometimes are different. Our band members and audiences were committed to following the guidelines in order to make our performances possible. In some respects, it seems like everyone accepted the challenge and worked together pretty well to achieve the goal of continuing to play. Our band was a little smaller than normal. We probably had about 50 people playing last summer in different concerts, but considering that the limit for an outdoor gathering in the park was 250 people, that was okay. And in fact, I had to do something that I've never thought I'd ever have to do, which is discourage or sort of disadvertise the audience members to come to our live concerts, and instead stay home and watch the live stream on Facebook so that we wouldn't exceed the community's crowd limit. So I'm going to share my screen and continue to tell my story in pictures. And a lot of these are going to look like the Salem Band. And I don't know if I can, I might be able to zoom this a bit. There we are, setting up for the very first rehearsal. And we're actually situated outside of our community's hockey or ice arena, which isn't really used in the summer. So they let us store our equipment inside there and come out on that parking lot. I had access to that. Now I need to get there we go. There we are with the band members in place. And I guess I'd like to point out the music stands. Everybody was bringing their own music stands and kind of responsible for that because we didn't want a bunch of people touching things. I don't think the science recently has found that the virus is transmitted a whole lot by that kind of contact, but back then we were considering that. I also might want to point out Lake Superior here in the background that we enjoy, and you can't help but noticing the Mott's Apple box that the stands were kept in. And who else would have a band that has a bassoon player and a kilt? So every good community band needs one of those. Here are physicians that are explaining the protocols. And it was interesting. What happened is that I had gone to the dentist a week or two before our first rehearsal, and The American Dental Association had these questions that we have all been asked when we go into the dentist office or the doctor's office. So I brought this to the board members and said, you know, maybe we need to ask the band members the same thing. And so, like Eileen said, we had our folks, you know, sign that they at least understand this information. And these two guys kind of reviewed all of the, just sort of reminded everybody that, hey, if you're sick, stay home, or, you know, all the different considerations that everybody was going through in the time of the COVID when it started. I guess I'm showing you this picture, and Eileen, I'll have to admit, I was trying to look at some of those titles that were on those music stands, you know, just like everybody does. We want to steal good pieces, right? And our theme basically for the summer was "We Shall Overcome." And I found this nice arrangement for concert band, and it was the first thing we ever started with last summer when we started. And we played it, you know, the very last week as well. This was our first concert that we gave in the community. And it's actually located at the site where we have our farmers market. And we do have this 6 or more like 7 feet spacing between the band members. And if I can get to the next shot, I'll show you the huge audience that we had. There they are. But actually, this will remind you of Eileen's concert that she was showing you. The audience were actually in the cars. And we had an audience in the cars on both sides. And if you've never experienced applause coming from horn honks, I definitely, you know, encourage you to recommend that you try for that. That was our first way of doing an outdoor concert with a live audience, even if they were in their cars. And we actually built it as a drive-in concert. It's like a drive-in movie, but a drive-in concert. Oh yeah, I just wanted to remind myself really that we went from the very beginning and just decided, hey, let's even try to have a soloist. And this is one of my former students at Northern Michigan who got her doctorate at Indiana recently. And so she also has been in the backup band for Adele, by the way, and Lexi Signor, she did a great job as a soloist on our concert. So that's still possible, having a guest soloist. And then finally, we were able to have our concert in our city park. It's called Presque Isle, which in French, I believe it means almost an island, if you can picture that. You can drive out to it. And there's the band shell kind of tucked away there in the trees. And the first thing you notice is, just like Eileen was mentioning, we had these, the signage there reminding people to wear the masks. Of course, everything is changing. And so we actually have a board meeting on Tuesday night, and I'm sure we'll be discussing what our protocols are going to be and what our requirements, you know, about distancing and masking and that sort of thing is going to be for the audience as well as for the band members. And I know that stage back there looks kind of small. And if you take a look, we have the percussion and the low brass set up in the stage area, and we have the rest of the band members out in front. I think that's maybe where that title, "Think Outside the Stage," is really what I was thinking about when I suggested that. But we've had as many as 84 people up on the band shell stage, so it's a little bit deceptive in the size. Later on in the season, this is a different concert, but you can see the audience was still pretty good at wearing masks, and you can't really tell from this picture, but all the benches are set up 6 feet apart, and I guess some people brought their own, you know, lawn chairs and that sort of thing. Hopefully they're all in the same family. This is before our first concert, which is actually on the 4th of July. I'm talking to the band members, and you can see a couple of the mic stands there. And we found that audio reinforcement was really important, miking the band so that the audience, which was a great distance away, could hear the band better, but it also helped the band members hear themselves better, and which helped them play better together. Our audio engineer used 7 mics on the band, and then I had a talk mic. And so, and the audio from that system also provided the audio for the live stream. So the tech guys were able to put that together. Here's our low brass that are up on the stage, and they all have their mouths open. I'm not actually sure exactly why. I don't think it was anything I said or did. But I did notice that back in the back of the stage, you can see the percussionist that's wearing their mask. And so our idea was like Eileen had talked about, wear your mask until you get to your performance area and take them off to play. Later on came the bell covers and slip face masks in my world. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. See if I get to the next one. Okay. Yeah, here you have a better view of the woodwinds and the upper brass that are seated on the ground in front of the band shell. And I think just being flexible like this was a big part of our success. You do have to kind of come up with different places. We've performed in some different places besides here. We did try to rehearse in a couple of places, but just got a little tired of moving the percussion equipment around, you know. And so we're still at this location for most of our concerts in the summer. I'd also like to point out, somebody looks like Bernie Sanders sitting over here on the bench with his leg crossed and his arms folded, but that's not a Photoshop, by the way. This is one of my favorite pictures from our July 4th concert. It shows the tech guys here. The guy doing the audio has done audio in the community for years, and so he was really experienced. And the fellow over here operating the cameras, and he used either 3 or 4 different cameras. He's the audio or the AV club advisor at the high school, and so this, you know, I just my daughter attends the local high school, and it was easy for me to ask him if he wanted to do this, and he really enjoyed it. And we did pay both of these guys, because they did, you know, it wasn't just a one-time thing. They actually did about 5 concerts for us. All right, so besides our usual concert venues, we also played in some different places. Here you can see us playing for, but not in, a parade that was held in front of our local veterans home. This was just a little private parade just to entertain the veterans there that were there. This gives you a better view of the band, and you can see how we weren't very particular about where everybody left their belongings. This isn't the neatest looking setup. But, you know, in order to sort of keep people from congregating, we decided that they would just kind of take care of their own stuff. It's not visually attractive, but again, we're eliminating the congregating. Here's a picture of our band performing in the parking lot outside of one of our local nursing homes. And at the beginning of the pandemic, actually, it was our nursing home that was hit hardest by the virus. So we just thought it was really important to do what we could to brighten their days, the ones that were able to get out. Here you see some of the residents of the nursing homes out watching our concert. And this next picture, these guys were really glad to get out and get some fresh air too. This lady has her own box seat, enjoying our concert from her wheelchair. Just here, look at how this is done. Doesn't get any more low tech than this, right? You put your marching band speaker right there on the little folding chair, and voila, you've got a sound system. This is a picture of our final concert in the park that we held on August the 6th. And this picture being taken from the stage. And at this point, it become evident that we were finding ways to reach our audiences, both in person and virtually. You know, when you do a live stream, it keeps count of the people watching. There were several thousand people. I think I saw 3.5 thousand people that were watching or had watched one of ours, including people from both of our sister cities. Marquette has a sister city in Kline, Finland. We've actually taken our band to perform there, and their centennial that they had in 2017, we took the band there. We also have a sister city in Higashiomi, Japan. And I noticed there were some residents watching our concerts from there. And I think it was this concert, we were delighted that one of our band's favorite composers, Rossano Galante, tuned in to watch us play one of his pieces. It's called Afterlife, and he commented about it during the performance, which our band members thought were really cool. They all thought they were personal friends of Rossano, I think, at that point. So, you know, Rossano or people from Japan or Kline, Finland, you never knew really who was going to be watching you who's going to be in the audience, even possibly a Green Bay Packers fan. Closest big city to where we live in Marquette. And I'll also say here that this is one of my favorite pictures from the summer. You see a couple enjoying a nice evening together outdoors in our beautiful park setting, enjoying the music, and that we were so delighted to be playing. Nancy, in an earlier meeting that we had, you were talking about people bringing the blankets, and this was where you live in Texas, and putting them on the ground sitting, I guess. But I was really serious when I said when they bring blankets to our concerts up here in Marquette, Michigan, they're often used to keep themselves warm. So when the band took its final bow, we did realize we were able to bring a little joy to people's lives during the pandemic, maybe even help them forget, or even just for a little while, the challenges and frustrations and sorrow that we were all experiencing in this most difficult summer. And I also wanted to mention indoors at the university, and this was, you know, in this last winter. We had this upside down situation where the conductor was on the stage, you know, turned out toward the audience area. And these are my students in the wind ensemble that are standing in the audience area, all playing one of a part. And, you know, for the symphonic band, which is a larger group, mostly of non-majors, I broke them into woodwind choir, rehearsing on Mondays, and brass choir, percussion on Wednesdays, and put them together on Fridays. And so you'll see that we're playing with the slit face mask. Even the flutes have a little face mask that they're using. Playing with bell covers too. So like I mentioned, we'll have our meeting on Tuesday with the board and talk about the latest announcement by the CDC. And I think our Governor Whitmer's already has put some guidelines in place, and then we'll see. We'll have to find out what our local government says about what we're going to do too here in Marquette. But yeah, we just feel like we try to follow the guidelines and kind of come up with creative ways to, you know, to make it happen. So I wonder if there's any questions that I can answer.
Yeah, here's one. Was your live stream via Facebook, or how did you do that?
Yeah, it was Facebook.
Yeah.
And so the guy doing the video just needs to connect with the person that's in charge of our Facebook and get, I think they need the password in order to have that occur.
Cool. So you guys have resumed outdoor concerts and rehearsals?
We'll start that in June, and we started to get the music together for that. And like I said, I don't know what guidelines we're going to need to give to the audience. I have a feeling if you notice the benches that were set up 6 feet apart, we'll probably stick with that. I feel like we'll probably stay with the same setup for another year, like we did with the band last year.
Great. And then one of the things I remember you talking about before, and you mentioned it, was just sound system. Have you used the sound system more for projecting the sound of the audience, or did you also use it for the band as well, for the band to be able to hear themselves better?
Definitely both, for the audience, but also as monitors so that the band could hear themselves. And that became the feed for the Facebook live stream too.
Cool. Is there any particular system that you guys were using that you found to be the best? Or
Well, this was a professional system that the audio guy had that he's used for years. He's in business doing this.
Yeah.
Now, as far as just rehearsing with the band, it was really helpful for me to just use our university's marching band system, where I had a wireless mic and two speakers pointing out to the band members. Really helped communicate that way.
Yeah. Great. I know we use the system too. That definitely helps. Well, thanks so much, Stephen. Appreciate your comments and a lot of good information there. Okay, our final presenter is Annette Klein, who has been the music director of the North Oakland Concert Band in Michigan since 1988. The North Oakland Concert Band comprises more than 80 dedicated musicians and is one of Michigan's leading wind ensembles. The band has performed its first virtual concert and has been live streamed and is currently on YouTube for viewing. Their information was shared with the ACB and was in an article in the latest ACB journal. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do that. They have finished their small ensemble concert, which will be streamed, and are currently working on their May 6th, which is past. So we'll be anxious to hear about that concert featuring their concerto competition winners. So here is Annette to share what they've been doing. Oh, you need to unmute, Annette.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I'm really honored to be a part of this conversation. As Tom said, I'm the director of the North Oakland Concert Band, and I just wanted my presentation's a little bit different, and we've been doing some things that are different. I do want to mention that it's been a challenge, and it changes weekly, and but I'm proud of my board and our members to keep it going. So I'm going to share you my presentation. Hang on for a second. All right, so I'm going to talk about recent activities, concert details, our YouTube channel, and some of the things that we have coming up. For our rehearsals, and our live stream concerts, we did a fall concert, we did a winter small ensemble video, and we did our spring concert. These were all produced by Orion Neighborhood TV. Live broadcast and web streamed. You can see that this picture right here is the production room and control room. And through this window, which is hard to see, but there is a studio in there, and that's how we did our small ensemble video. And I will talk about that in just a little bit more. Down in this room right here is the room that we were using. It's a banquet hall, and actually there's like more to this room, there's a whole nother area down in the front of this picture. But it's approximately 5,000 square feet, and at that time we were allowed to have a certain amount of people per square feet in the building. We have masks for our instruments, and of course you can see that we are distanced. And in this room too, I want to point out that there are cameras. Oops, sorry. There are cameras, there's some way up at the top here, all around the room. And then for performances, they would put another cameraman here and then one over here. So it's set up for live streaming. Orion Neighborhood TV is in the same building. So we were so fortunate that we had this available to us. Our fall concert, Oldies, you see is October 29th. This is the first time we got together. We did not do anything once COVID hit from March all the way to August. So we were able to get in for 3 rehearsals and a performance. About 35 of my members participated, like Stephen and Eileen. We did have a waiver form as well that everybody had to sign. And it's basically going over what we expected and things like that. That is our concert program. We did not have access to percussion equipment, so I chose music that we could safely do with a drum set. And I had a gentleman that had his own drum set, so he brought it in, and we were able to put on a pretty cool concert, I think. Our small ensemble concerts, we had 5 small ensembles participate. We made a recording. We recorded each one of their performances. Each group came up with up to 15 minutes worth of music. So it might have been like 4 or 5 different pieces. And then I blended those recordings and made 2 mini videos of 30 minutes long. George Sinnott, a member of my band, and we got together. We used Adobe Premiere to create the videos. And once we did that, we posted it to an ACB YouTube channel and blasted it out to our patrons on 2 separate occasions, so they weren't like back to back. In that studio, if I go back and show you this picture, so you can kind of see right here, I think this is the trumpet quartet, and they're in this room back here. So we recorded on 2 separate dates, so if they didn't like maybe one of the recordings, they could redo it. I had a chance to redo it before we did that. All right, so our spring concert, which we just did, we titled it An Unusual Setting because it was. Again, this is a live stream concert. No audiences were allowed in there. We had about 35 members, and this is, we featured 2 high school senior concerto competition winners that we chose. And it was very interesting because the Glazunov concerto for saxophone really doesn't have any percussion parts. So that worked out good for us. But I did pick out music that had very little percussion, or we could get away with not including all the percussion. For this concert, we were able to borrow, which we usually always do anyways. We use percussion equipment from a local middle school. So for this concert, we brought in percussion for the last 2 rehearsals and then the concert. We do have our own truck, and trailer, so we could haul it back and forth. So after we live stream our performance, the next day, then we post our performance on YouTube. So, and then we would take this is our website, or our link for our channel. And then we would blast that out to our patrons, again saying, if you missed our live stream, you can watch our performance at your convenience. And then for our summer, we plan to, we have 2 concerts, and this is a picture of our Wildwood Amphitheater in Lake Orion, Michigan. And it's a pretty big stage. It's as big as like a really good, nice, big, huge auditorium. And this is an old picture. This is not a COVID picture. We have not played for an audience yet, but our first one will be June 22nd, and then we have another one on August 8th. So we're really looking forward to actually playing for an audience. And I believe we'll still be socially distanced. We probably won't use masks outside, but we will spread it all out. We're not this is like my normal size band, but we probably have about maybe 45 that want to play so far. And right now my band is like 98% are all vaccinated, so we feel pretty comfortable with that. So that's my thing in a nutshell. This last page was some of the questions that I was supposed to cover. So I did connect with my band members. We sent out like a newsletter, just informing them of what we've been doing and things like that. We did, in order to start rehearsals in the fall, we sent out a questionnaire. There we go. We sent out a questionnaire to see who would be interested in all that kind of stuff. So, and we were able to actually get a pretty decent instrumentation, I felt. Our finances are very solid. We have a really good base, a donor base that we've built up over the years. And so we're very secure that way when we still continue to get support during COVID. So we're pretty fortunate. And the biggest thing with a community is, well, one, you should know your community, and because that will help you get around and do things. So the Orion Center where we were rehearsing, that was a lifesaver. We certainly would not have been able to do this without that, because we could not get into the schools. And because it had 3 separate dividing rooms, that was huge too. And when we did our small ensemble concerts, or we were rehearsing, we divided it up into 3 separate rooms. And so one group was in one room, the other room, and then we alternated times so they weren't in, at the same time. So it was very, very, it just worked out well. I already talked about percussion equipment, and then we never live streamed to Facebook. We relied on TV, Orion Television, to set up live stream to their website, and then we just put a link to our patrons to say click on this link, and then at 7:30, and I went to their website to see the live, and then after that, obviously, we posted a link to our YouTube page, and then also onto Facebook for further watching. For as far as our audience, we informed them that audiences were not allowed, so that's how we got them to stay home. So that's about all I have right now, I suppose. And I guess I can. Where's my stop share? Stop share. All right, so I can take questions if there's any questions.
Yeah, there was a question in the chat about copyright, but I think Sarah has sent a good reminder out about that and just how the copyright works, and just it's always good to ask. It's always good to and you never know what might happen. You might have a great conversation with a composer or a publishing company that you might not have been familiar with, and so.
Yeah, we had that tuba concerto was was a rental, and so that the company that rented it, I told them we were doing a live stream concert, and so we just had to pay extra money to cover that. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So there sometimes will be costs, sometimes not. So good. Well, great. Does anyone else have any other questions? Throw them in the chat. And just a reminder too that there are other ACB Connects, things that we've done that address copyright. And there's a lot of information on copyright on the ACB website. So that's for everyone. So any other questions from anyone viewing this afternoon? Yeah, these are some wonderful presentations, and I hope that all of us get back to doing something, especially maybe over the summer. Here's a question. Says, I'm curious as to how long these community bands that presented have been in existence. So yeah, maybe any of you can say that again. I know in my intros, I was astonished at how long some of the community bands have been going on. So maybe you can each share that real quickly.
Yeah, well, the Lake Orion Band, we've been in process for about 45 years. And we started, it was another band, and then we started very, very small. I was smacking right out of college, and I had like 14 people in the band. So I built it up over the years, and to where I feel really good about what we do now. So.
Our Marquette City Band's been in existence since 1887 and has been funded by the city of Marquette since 1930. There's actually a petition to the citizens at that time on whether or not that should have been voted. And so it was by a vote of the community members that we actually seek funding through their taxes. And it has I'm not sure that has continued, but we still receive our funding from the city. And if you'd like to find out more, visit marquettecityband.org, or I think it's .com, and you can see a slide presentation on the history of our band. Cool.
Yeah,
And
with mine, you can go to nocb.org, but it's not up to date because of COVID, but.
As Tom said, Salem Band, we're actually celebrating our 250th anniversary this year, established in 1771, when the town of Salem brought various voices of trombones here, and that's how it started. Technically, we've been more of a community band type ensemble since maybe the late 19th century, turn of the 20th century.
Great. Yeah, lots of history. It's fun to hear about. Okay. All right. Well, at this point, I think I will turn it back over to our past president, Susan Sands. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. We're so glad you could join us for a glimpse into what is happening for several of our ACB member bands, especially as we go through this time of transition. We would like to thank our special guests, Annette Klein, Dr. Eileen Young, and Dr. Stephen Grugin. I would also like to offer special thanks to our moderator, Tom Seaton, and to the whole ACB Connects team. The next session of ACB Connects will be on Wednesday, May 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. At this session, join ACB Connects in a virtual orientation to the Performing Arts Reading Room at the Library of Congress. This will be an exciting and informative insider's tour of the beautiful music division within the Library of Congress. Our expert guides on this virtual tour will be Melissa Wertheimer, Music Reference Specialist, and Caitlin Miller, who has been with a reference specialist in the music division of the Library of Congress since 2009. Please check the ACB website for more details, including registration information. For the links mentioned today and to access all previously recorded sessions of ACB Connects, please visit our ACB website homepage at acbands.org. You'll also find information about becoming an ACB member, details on future sessions of ACB Connects, and a wealth of resources. We'd also love to have you connect with us on Facebook, where you'll see informative and timely posts. Thank you for being with us today for this special opportunity to form new connections. We'll look forward to having you join us again on Wednesday, May 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for the next session of ACB Connects. Until then, take care and be safe.